President Donald Trump over the weekend defending his decision to fire a number of inspectors general from over a dozen federal agencies. It happened in a Friday night purge, and it raises concern about the future of oversight in his administration.
It's a very common thing to do. Some people thought that some were unfair or some were not doing the job, and it's a very standard thing to do.
Do you plan to bring your own people in those positions, Mr. President?
Well, they're not my people. I don't know anybody that would do that, but we'll put people in there that will be very good.
The fired inspectors general were meant to serve as independent government watchdogs, a check against fraud, waste, or abuse of power. Though Trump, who fired a handful of inspectors general during his first term, says it is, quote, common practice, the scale of Trump's purge has not been seen since Ronald Reagan dismissed 15 IGs on his first day in office in 1981.
Also getting the axe were the 15 inspector generals. They were the targets of candidate Reagan, who accused them of not doing enough to eliminate government waste. They'll be replaced, in the words of White House press spokesman James Brady, with people who are meaner than a junkyard dog when it comes to ferreting out waste, fraud, and corruption.
Democrats warning that these firings are not going to cut government waste as promised.
The American people, if we don't have good and independent inspector generals, are going to see the swamp refill. They're going to see rampant waste fraud. They're going to see corruption. It may be the president's goal here, when he's got a meme coin that's making him billions, is to remove anyone that's going to call the public attention to his malfeasance.
And joining us now is one of the inspectors general dismissed by Trump on Friday, Mark Greenblatt. He was the inspector general of the Department of Interior. Sir, thanks very much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me on. Yeah.
Can you explain how you learned about this? What happened on Friday?
So Friday night, I got an email on my work phone, and I checked it, and on there was it said White House notification, and I knew that can't be good. In the prior Trump administration, President Trump had removed 2 inspectors general, both of which were on Friday nights. And so those are Friday night, Friday night massacres at that time. And so to get an email from the White House saying White House notification on a Friday night at 7:30, I knew that couldn't be good. And so I opened it up, and there was a 2-sentence email from the Director of Presidential Personnel that said, in light of changing priorities, you are, terminated from your position at the, Department of the Interior, effective immediately, and thank you for your service.
So have you had a chance to clean out your office?
No, actually, my email has been cut off, and I don't know what's going to happen with my things. I was there for 5.5 years, and so we'll see.
You were appointed by Donald Trump, or named to this position by Donald Trump back in 2019. Do you have any sense of why he would put you on this list?
No, I don't know. And all that was stated was the changing priorities in that email, which I understand the other IGs who were removed, the 17 or 18 of us, were still sifting through the rubble, frankly, to find out how many IGs were removed. But as far as I know, all of us got essentially the same email that said changing priorities.
Well, because, one of the things that happened on your watch that, of course, Donald Trump himself has focused on was this report that you did on what happened in Lafayette Square back during the Black Lives Matter protests, and the square was cleared, and there's those pictures of Donald Trump, of course, walking across the square with Mark Milley. And he was clearly pleased with you, because he wrote after this report came out, and you said, well, that the square was not cleared. You said the evidence we obtained did not support a finding that the U.S. Park Police cleared the park to allow the president to survey the damage and walk to St. John's Church. The evidence showed that the U.S. Park Police did not know about the president's potential movement until mid to late afternoon on June 1st, hours after it had begun developing its operational plan and the fencing contractor had arrived in the park. And then Trump issued this statement thanking the Inspector General, you, for completely and totally exonerating me in the clearing of Lafayette Park. It just seems as though the work that you're doing, and it's trustworthy, et cetera, has put him in a positive light, not a negative one.
Well, we do fair, objective, independent oversight, and I've been doing that for 5.5 years, and I'm very proud of the work that my team has done during my tenure as Inspector General. And so I would agree with you. I don't know what the basis of the removal was, but we've been doing good, high-impact work trying to help the American taxpayer. We are the taxpayers' representatives inside the Department of the Interior, and I think we've been doing that job really well.
So let's talk about the big picture impact of not just your job, but all of these. You say you're still sifting through the rubble. I mean, what does that mean for taxpayers if there are not people like you in these roles?
Well, I would say it's troubling. These removals should be sending off alarm bells for a number of different reasons. But the primary one, in my view, is the independence of these positions. The whole construct of inspectors general, it's based on us being independent, that we're not beholden to a political party of any stripe, that we are there as the taxpayers' representatives to call balls and strikes without any dog in the fight. So that's the question, is what will President Trump do with these positions? Is he going to nominate watchdogs, or is he going to nominate lapdogs? That's the key question. If he's going to nominate independent-minded folks who are independent in body and spirit, then that's hopefully the right course of action. If he goes down a path of nominating and appointing political lackeys, then I think the American taxpayers, Congress, stakeholders throughout the country should be up in arms. This is not a good development for the American taxpayer.
What should we be looking for? I know you came up through basically the Inspectors General community. You are a professional investigator. What would be a red flag in someone's background that would indicate that, in your words, they would be a lapdog and not a watchdog?
Well, certainly. I mean, and we've seen this in administrations of both kinds, both sides of the aisle over the years. The big issue is, do they have a political experience that would call their credibility into question? Do they have are they working for the administration? Do they have a dog in the fight? That's the key question, and it manifests itself in a number of different ways. But the key thing is, can they be objective? It doesn't mean they necessarily have to come from the Inspector General community, but do they have a background that suggests they can do the job, they can be in a leadership position, they can speak truth to power? Those are some of the key indicia of successful inspectors general.
All right, Mark Greenblatt, I'm very grateful to have you on the show. I'm sure it's been a tough weekend for you.
Yeah.
So thank you for spending some time with us.
Thank you very much.
It. Joey, I want to ask you also about another story we've been following because, of course, this is, again, the beginning of week 2 of the Trump administration, but it is head-spinning to try to keep up with it all. President Trump fired a number of inspectors general across the U.S. government. Was that legal in your view?
No, it was not. I mean, well, let's take it this way, right? Number one, obviously, the president is the commander in chief, and it's your prerogative to have employed with the federal government or, any entity thereof who you want. However, there are specific notice provisions that Congress set when you have watchdog groups and agencies, entities, or people overseeing things. And that notice provision provides for you to, A, give 30 days notice to Congress, and B, give a justification as to why it is that you felt appropriate to do so. That wasn't done. And so if you're going to do things, again, do them. You're the commander in chief. Just do them in accordance with law, in accordance with specific guidelines, and in accordance with the rules and regulations. Don't do things just because you feel like doing them. That's unlawful.